Today's keynote speaker is Ted Carter, president of the University of Nebraska. He began his term as the university's 8th president January 1st of this year, having served most recently as the superintendent of his alma mater, the United States Naval Academy, from 2014 to 2019. He was the longest continuously serving superintendent in Annapolis by special request of the Secretary of the Navy and the Chief Naval Operations. During his tenure as superintendent, which is the Naval Academy's equivalent of a university president, the Academy was ranked the nation's #1 public university by Forbes magazine. Prior to that role, he served as the president of the United States Naval War College. President Carter also brings extensive and impressive military service, and it's really difficult for me to describe all of his service and honors in this brief introduction, but I'm going to give you a sampling. He graduated from the Naval Fighter Weapons School. He was the commander for Carrier Strike Force Group 12, in which he commanded 20 ships, 2 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, and 2 carrier air wings that were deployed to Afghanistan and to the Arabian Gulf. He's a naval flight officer with more than 6,300 flying hours, and he's completed 2,016 carrier-assisted landings. That is an American record. There's so much more. Perhaps the simplest way to sum up his military career is simply 2 words: Top Gun. Delivering our commencement address this morning will be our real-life Tom Cruise, only better. He is a Top Gun. On a personal note, I can't imagine having a better person be the leader of the university right now. He wasn't in place very long before the pandemic began, and difficult decisions had to be made quickly and collaboratively and with everybody's best interest and with no good answers and no book to guide him. The early months of his administration, I know the other 2 chancellors and I appreciated and admired his leadership. We were glad that he was on board to help guide us through and is still guiding us through to this moment. Soldier and UNK student Phil Hune, who you just met, fondly remembers and follows the wise words given to him by Admiral Carter during his transition to a chief petty officer. Lead by doing, lead by example, lead by your heart. Indeed, President Carter's entire career has been one of leadership. And to talk a little bit about and show his leadership, today is also his 38th wedding anniversary. I think it's pretty romantic that you'd come to UNK to be part of our commencement today, and I hope that Linda understands that as well. I'd like you to meet President of the University of Nebraska, Ted Carter. Go get him.
Wow. Well, good morning, everyone. I can't think of a better place in the entire world, the entire country, and our great state of Nebraska to be than right here at the Ron and Carol Cope Stadium at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Chancellor Christensen, thank you for the way too generous introduction. Thank you for the job that you're doing here at Kearney. And I want to say thank you, a special thank you to the faculty and staff. This is a proud day for you, an exciting day for you, a day of celebration for you. You've helped teach, educate, and mentor these over 350 students who are going to be getting graduate and undergraduate degrees. So this is your special day. I also want to say thank you to our regents, who I've gotten to know very well in my 7 short months on the job. They do a tremendous amount of work with absolutely no pay. So Regent Pillen, Regent Claire, Regent Kenny, thank you for being here, and thank you for what you do for the state of Nebraska and our university. For the parents, family, and friends, I know you're sitting in the sun. I know it's getting a little bit warm. I'm one of the last things between you and your sons and daughters and loved ones from getting their degree, so I'm respectful that I'm not going to talk for the 2 hours that I had planned. But I also think that this, since we're in this great football stadium and it's a celebration, how about we make a little bit of noise? How about we hear it for these graduates? Let's hear it from the stands. For our graduates, from the spring and the summer class of 2020, this is your day. And you know this better than anyone. You would not be even sitting here were it not for the love and the support of not just the faculty and staff, but many of those that are in the audience. So how about for all of our graduates, you give a round of applause for all those people that came here to support you today. So give it up. Now, there are some people that observe history, some people that read history, and there are some people who make history. And today I would submit to all of us here that we're making history. We're living in a time that nobody's ever seen before. I'm actually getting tired of hearing unprecedented times. I'm sure you are too. With unprecedented times comes unprecedented challenges, but also comes unprecedented opportunities. And that's going to be a little bit of the theme that I'm going to talk about here for just a couple of minutes. And before we can even talk about the place that we're in, living through a pandemic the world's not seen for over 100 years, the trisection of multiple pandemics, in fact, the racial injustice that we're seeing across our nation, as well as the pandemic of the economic economy that is struggling because of the conjunction of those two. When you put all those together, and they've all come together in literally a number of weeks, you can honestly say that we have never experienced anything like this in the history of our nation. And for us to have any sense of how we'll go forward, maybe in understanding the impact of that, is we have to look back. We have to look into our past and see if there's anything even somewhat similar from which we can learn. Regent Pillen talked about the pandemic of 1917 and 1918, the Spanish influenza. Certainly had great impact across our nation and across the world. We were coming out of World War I. And as we transitioned to the Roaring 20s and then into the Great Depression of the 1930s, an economic fallout where the United States saw well over 25% unemployment. Then on 7 December of 1941, a day that would live in infamy, that would enter us into World War II, maybe that's a period of time where there was so much change, so much disruption that we can look back to. And our President of the United States during that era, during the end of the Great Depression and getting us into World War II, he had to lead us. And some of the things he said then, when he addressed the Americans every night by radio, maybe we can find some inspiration in some of those words. Maybe we can find something in the word called hope. FDR once said, "We've always lived in hope, with belief and conviction that there's a better life and a better world beyond the horizon." Hope, belief, and conviction. Maybe those are words that we can use as inspiration. But I'll tell you, just as Chief Petty Officer Hewen and I have known, served on ships and carriers and serving around the world, when it comes to getting things done, words of inspiration are foundational, but that's not how things actually do get done. Hope and belief, those are not courses of action. For the future, and as we look at all of the challenges that we're going to have and how we're going to turn those into opportunity, we're going to have a bias for action. Now this morning, each and every one of you graduates got up, you got dressed, you put on these fancy robes, you probably looked at yourself in the mirror, and I hope you thought of this day as a celebration, because that is truly what it is, and I don't want us to lose that. But I hope you also maybe took a moment, and maybe this will happen later after the ceremony, after you get your degree, and maybe you'll ask yourself this question: what will I become? And as we look at the challenges and the opportunities that are going to be in the future, I'm here to tell you that it won't be me, it won't be Regent Pillen, it won't be Chancellor Christensen that'll necessarily solve those. The future is going to need leadership, it's going to need courage, it's going to need that conviction word. I'm here to tell you, you're the generation that's going to get us there. And you're going to do well. And you're going to do well because of the education you got here at the University of Nebraska at Kearney. The values that have been instilled in you as young men and women will help you on that path to success. Values such as honesty, integrity, taking care of your neighbor, as you did here just a year ago with the horrific floods that came throughout the entire state, taking care of your neighbors, as you did this spring, taking those who were caught up in COVID-19 and needed places to isolate in some of your dormitories. These are just some of the values that you have. You've also shown values of perseverance and resilience, and yes, courage. And as you go forward, I ask that you think about one more value that you'll need to be successful, and that's humility. You'll never need anybody to tell that story for yourself. Let your actions tell that story. Always use your time, your thought, your problem-solving skills that you got here at the University of Nebraska at Kearney to choose the hard right and not the easy wrong. As we think about the future, and we think back to that time that I talked about with Franklin Delano Roosevelt, we think about the generation of young Americans that went to war for our very survival as a democratic nation and as a democratic world. That generation was labeled the greatest generation. And I would submit to you, given the challenges that we have, given that tri-section of where we are, you, the University of Nebraska at Kearney, spring and summer, graduating class of 2020, you are that next greatest generation. And to do that, you really just have to hold to those foundational inspirational words of hope, belief, conviction. And inside yourself, no matter where you're going next, whether you're going on to another higher education, going into a profession, going into the workforce, going into the military, wherever you're going, if you simply look at yourself and say, I can believe in something bigger than myself, you will become the next great problem solvers and that next greatest generation. So stay true to yourself. Stay true to the blue and gold. Stay true to your hope, your belief, conviction. Keep a weather eye on that horizon and beyond. Go Lopers.